So, Joe, I don't know if you heard, but Mickey Mouse, after all these years, broke up with Minnie.
No.
Yeah, she was fucking goofy.
Uh-huh.
See, it's a play on the word goofy.
I prefer the long jokes now. I miss the long jokes.
You can take a little nap.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is Jacques.
This is Joe.
And welcome to Carnival Personnel.
Yeah.
Joe is in just the best of
Rare
moods,
form.
Before we start, I'm going to give a birthday shout out to our beloved friend Biff.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. That was my Elvis.
That was Elvis?
Yeah, it was.
I honestly, because he was playing keyboards on the table, rocking back and forth somewhere between Helen Keller and Stevie Wonder. I thought that was a Stevie Wonder.
You know what's between Helen Keller and Stevie Wonder?
I do not.
Forbidden love. Anyway, what were you saying
like
about
Richard
Biff?
Pryor and
Marlon Brando?
And that brings us to the birthday boy, Biff. Hello, Biff, and happy birthday. I think it's like 50-something. You know, after 40, does it matter what it is?
No.
Like between 40 and death, does it really matter?
Yeah, this is just plus, whatever, 40 plus.
And also, I would like to give a Carnival personnel shout-out to our good friend, Flora. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and I apologize if I'm not. But our lifelong friend, Steve, isn't a regular listener, is a semi-regular listener to the show. He catches it now and then, but apparently his wife listens all the time. And yeah. And he said, like, the other day, he's like, sounds like Junk and Joe. And she came downstairs, and yeah, she was listening to the podcast. So,
oh my.
So So we've branched out even more. Thank you for listening. It's nice to have you aboard. And we have the worst stories about Steve that we will tell you when we meet you in person someday.
Uh-huh. My goodness. So there's more words from our vocabulary that we're going to have to delete to accommodate our newly found audience. Great. Well, thanks for listening.
So, what did I say? So last week it was on April Fool's that we recorded, and we weren't really planning on doing anything. You do anything April Fool's-ish?
No, I didn't even look at my kids. Actually, I said to them, I want to divorce an April Fool's joke because
you can't divorce your kids.
Oh, right. I've
tried.
Yeah.
I looked into it.
Okay.
But
no, I didn't do anything.
So we had a fun April Fool's, and like I said last week, it's not really when you act like this all year round. It's like, everybody else is dressing up on Halloween like I do the rest of the year. Yeah, big deal. But management went the extra mile. Big party at my mom's house. Ooh. She made a sponge cake.
Those are delicious.
She made a sponge cake.
Wait a minute.
Went to the store, got a whole bunch of sponges, and then cut them into a shape of a rabbit, like it took up a whole cookie sheet type thing. And then her and the boys spent like an hour plus, like just frosting it like so much, decorating it, made it look like a rabbit and decorated the whole thing. And it was awesome. And it was tough for them. I mean, from the second they got into Grandma's house to the time of a cake was a good 3-hour window, which might as well have been a lifetime.
That's like, how long can the cat hold the canary in his mouth?
And the oldest one was like the whole time, it's like, you're going to love our cake. And we kept like, dude, you gotta be subtle. You gotta just let it flow. No, we're not having cake before the Easter dinner. Granted, at home, very often we have cake before we have dinner. And
before you have breakfast, too.
Truth be told, often cake is dinner. So, and we did. It was nice that management's mom was there, too. It was the whole family. But here's the funny thing. It started off with my mom starting the April Fool's thing because it was a big thing in her house and calling me and just saying, well, I guess she called me to say she called my sister and was telling her, like, Easter's off, her and my dad are too sick and blah, blah, blah. And maybe hold off until noon and then she'll call her and let her know if everybody's coming over. And then my sister kind of thought my mom was pulling her leg. And I guess wasn't always thrilled because she was picking her dog. There was a lot of moving pieces to put this together. So my mom called me to say, well, I was going to prank you, but I pranked your sister, and now she's mad at me. But if she calls, keep it going. You know? And then they do a big Easter egg hunt. Those plastic eggs, my mom, puts like $1 bill in them and hides like 50 around the yard for all the grandkids to do. And they can't open them till the end. Like she tapes them shut. And they were empty this year. So the kids. And then this was a great thing. Then she's like, no, I'm kidding, blah, blah, blah. And she had another batch. Since everybody down in the basement hides them in the yard again, they were empty again. Like she did it. Yeah. See where I get it? Like from a long line.
I know.
But then when she went to cut the cake after the dinner and she's cutting and she looks, she's like, Gordon, this knife is not working. And then she's like, how's a knife not working in cake? Maybe it's a user error. And she cuts, and at that point we start laughing. And she like pulls and between the two ears, instead of trying to cut one of the ears, she pulls and sees and it's just sponge under that. And my mother-in-law, it turns out that this sponge cake joke also funny in Korean.
Yeah.
Like she just was laughing. So she's like in that hyperventilating laughing and stuff like that.
I can imagine that the Korean channel plays nothing but America's Funniest Videos 24 hours a day because this type of humor.
In between people getting hit by cars and really weird game shows.
Little Joel McHale humor there.
So that went over well. You heard about the Elon Musk joke, April Fool's joke. Didn't go over so well.
No.
Starts to tweet out that they're possibly looking into filing bankruptcy.
Oh.
Now, last week, we're not stock guys, but it was a rough week for stocks. And over the next couple of days, the stock did take a hit. And people are like, is that just everybody's stock is taking a hit right now? Or are we? And then he had to, like a couple of days later, goes, do you really think I would be tweeting out we might be going bankrupt? It was a joke. And, hey, the guy was batting 1,000. He's still 950, which still puts him in anybody's Hall of Fame if you're tracking that thing. But that was a failed April Fool's joke.
Well, they can't all be winners. Like me.
Oh. Man.
Anyway, let's move on to something even more exciting.
As we sit here and speak, I've popped my cherry as far as game up directing for a professional sports team.
Woo!
Last night was the inaugural game, the season opener as well for the Massachusetts Pirates of the National Arena League. Attendance was pretty good, about 8,000 people, which is more than we kind of thought. It wasn't over early, but the Mass Pirates prevailed. I think the final score was like 52-20 something.
Who do they play?
They played the Maine Mammoth. Maine, like, we didn't have any promotional giveaways, but the Maine quarterback, it was free ball night and kept throwing it to Pirate players. I'm not really sure if it was part of like the deep red state, like he was really on the inside, like moved to Maine and at this whole plan. But I think like 2 pick sixes or at least 4 turnovers that resulted in points for the Mass Pirates. But it was fun.
Good for them. Yeah. Well, is this sort of like an all New England league? I mean, it's national.
No.
Because you have Maine and Massachusetts. Like, is there a Vermont team?
Nope. The other teams in the league, there's a team in it's not. I'm trying to think. It's
Dakota.
No. It's all East Coast.
Okay.
So the team that really runs the league that started it is the Jacksonville Sharks, and they were an AFL team. Like the AFL is folded down to 4 teams, and there's like now 3 professional arena teams. Like there's like a West Coast, a Central, and an East Coast.
Okay.
And this is the East Coast one. So there's a team in North Carolina. There's a team outside of Pittsburgh. There's North Carolina. Those teams. There's one other team. Cleveland. And that's the next home game is against Cleveland May 6th. But,
any celebrity sightings? Any big opening numbers?
They had a bunch of old Patriots like Ty Law, was there to do the official coin flip, and Patrick Pass was there, and a couple other current Patriot players, but nobody starters. It's like, are they going to be on the practice squad? But it was still great, and it was fun. Like a few of the guys on this team have played in the NFL. Everybody on the teams was a Division I. The big receiver on the Pirates still holds all the records for Cincinnati University, like wide receiving and stuff like that. But it's fun.
Great. How many games are in a season?
16.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The rules are kind of funky.
No.
It was, and the thing is, I don't think everybody is aware of the rules who play and who ref this. So the opening kickoff, I mean, it started off with a bang. The opening ceremonies was great. Technically, we were plagued. It was an awful night for game day ops because the Fisher-Price radios that we had to communicate, they didn't work well at the walkthrough on Thursday in the empty stadium, and you could barely hear people from 10 feet away on them.
You used
88,000 people in the stadium. Didn't make the acoustics of that work. And honestly, I had to call the guy down to the tunnel on the cell phone. Just keep the cell phone,
Oh my God.
But hey, we got through it. The opening ceremony was great. There was like 80 kids on the field making this high five tunnel, for one of the local football leagues and stuff. It was. I'm gonna say out of the 8,000, like 6,000 were under 12. It was a real big family thing. Like my whole clan went, and grandma went, and my sister. And it was fun. And I'll get to it later in the thing, but they got to come to the booth where I sit and put on the headphones and listen to all the camera people and the lights and the operators, the strobe lights and the spotlight people talk. So it was fun.
So the rules in the arena football's more family friendly, or are they more smash mouth? Like,
well, it's funny because once you hit the wall, like if you're running up field and you spin away from somebody and you bump into the wall, you're inbounds. But if you get pushed into the wall or you get touched in the wall, it's out. But there was a quarterback scrambling for a first down, and you can't step out of bounds, but instead of, there was no room to slide. He was against the wall. He just held the ball out like over the dasher. But so the opening ceremony was great. Opening kickoff comes down, hits the goalpost. You can score 2 points because it's a 50-yard field. So you kick off from your goal line. So it's in the end zone.
Conceivably, you could split the uprights on a kickoff.
The end zone. So the end zone's 8 yards deep. So it's kicking a 58-yard field goal if you score it. Off a tee, which is a little easier than kicking it with a holder. But the goalposts are more narrow, so they're about half the width of a regular goalpost. So, but it hit the goalpost. The Pirate player, tried to grab it. It bounced to one of their players, and it was Maine's ball on the 2-yard line. And it was a 10-minute review. So the opening kickoff took 9 seconds for a 10-minute review, and it's like that's what was killing the NFL. And then later in the game.
You're listening to ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Yes, I'll get off this pretty soon. But it was so one of the later possessions, Maine scores a touchdown, goes to kick the extra point. It hits the uprights. Players think it's a live ball, run it back for a touchdown. Then like, no, it hit the goalpost. It's a dead ball. It's like, but 20 minutes ago when it hit the goalpost on the kickoff, it wasn't a dead ball.
Well, that's because it was sunny out.
And
then
inside the DC.
It became overcast later on, and that's why.
But it was fun. I can finally. I didn't talk about it much on this or even tell people because, to be honest, I wasn't sure I was going to take the gig because things like Fisher-Price radios for a 20-person crew. But that was it. But let's move on to the next thing nobody wants to talk about, or that I don't want to talk about, but we're going to.
But I'm going to talk about, I guess. What's going on?
The royal wedding that's coming up. Could you give less of a fuck about it?
No, and I'm surprised you put it on the rundown.
And I put it on the rundown because in between, watching a couple Blue Bloods today.
Is the Netflix broken?
Not at my parents. They don't have the Netflix because can't find the Apple TV. It's like literally. Anyways, that's another thing.
Okay,
that's on my dad's. That's in my dad's really old white guy podcast. I think my dad thinks he has a podcast because he's just in his basement yelling to nobody.
Yeah, that qualifies.
But no, I think it was like flipping through and like in commercial break on MSNBC. It like had like they're doing a special on the wedding coming up. And instantly I hit the dread button because I don't give a fuck about it. You don't give a fuck about it. I'm married to somebody who really does give a fuck about it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm just anticipating how much royal wedding talk I'm going to be in the vicinity of for the next 2 months.
Oh, my God. This is like Patriot season for her.
Right.
Holy mackerel. Luckily, it only comes once every, 5-10 years.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think this is the two princes. I don't think there's any more.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing, she's American actor. It's like...
That was a good song by her.
It wasn't it really? I do, though. It's like every time I saw the commercial, I'm like, oh, this is going to be such a part of conversations. And it's like, why the fuck would anybody care about it?
Because it's pretty looking and it's pomp and circumstance. It's the stuff that dream American weddings are made of. Like that's what American women aspire to, is to get something of that high of opulence and attention and just glamour and glitz. And it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like why we watch why people watch the Kardashians. Not we. I mean the royal we. But not the royal we.
You see what you've done here?
Oh my God! How do we get out of this?
I wish we could, because we don't. We are stuck with it. There's going to be so much.
Where were you in 1981 when the royal wedding happened with Princess Diana and Prince Charles?
Back then, I mean, and that was the storybook thing. I mean, she was a commoner. I was 12.
What's Meghan Markle is like. Not exactly like of a long line of.
I will get there, but with Prince Diana,
yeah.
She was common folk or more common folk, not as common folk as the woman that Prince Charles wanted to marry, that he was banging the whole time.
Well, Camilla, right?
But as far as her, and the other thing is, there wasn't 24-hour cable news. I don't think there was barely cable. There was cable,
right?
But it wasn't in every home. It wasn't 24-hour around.
It was right. This was more like a kind of a Halley's Comet kind of thing, where just when it happened, it was a big event. It wasn't one glitzy. It wasn't one of many,
And the last wedding, I mean, his brother, William, the older one, right?
Yes,
the older. Let's
right.
just say the older.
Yeah. William.
He is,
and Kate Middleton.
He is the crown, the king in waiting. Like he is third in succession to the throne, and there's all this talk is like Charles should abdicate the throne. He's so popular, but he wants, maybe he'll be king for a year and abdicate. This is as much thought as I'm going to give it. I don't give a fuck. But this is his brother. This is now like, it's not you're not in the batter's box. You're not in the on deck circle.
Yeah, he's fifth. He's batting fifth.
Right. And then his wife, because people are like, oh, it's like when Grace Kelly married their Prince of Martin. No. Because Grace Kelly, you know who Grace Kelly was sort of like? Grace Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, she was Hollywood royalty.
Yeah, like who would be Hollywood royalty now?
I mean, this woman's on Suits on USA.
Yeah, right. I mean, she's but one step away from Blue Bloods.
Right. She knows. No.
Oh wait,
no.
Blue Bloods is the lead.
Blue Bloods is on CBS. Blue Bloods.
That's true.
Yes. USA Television does some fantastic programming.
It does.
But it
Monk.
doesn't. It's not. It's. I would go with Psych, but Monk.
Yeah,
another good
Psych
call.
too. Yeah.
Come on.
What?
What was our favorite?
Up All Night.
With?
Gilbert Gottfried.
Okay, with?
Gilbert Gottfried. You're watching USA Up All Night. And now, back to Revenge of the Nerds 5. Really?
But, so, yes, Grace Kelly, the chick from Suits. Grace Kelly,
right.
The chick from Suits.
But in all fairness, Meghan Markle wasn't a Doritos commercial.
There you go.
So there you have. Anyway, why are we talking about this?
One of the guys who works with us, he's the MC in the crowd guy, Corey, really, really funny guy. Ex-Navy guy. And one of his buddies was telling a story. He was in the Navy, and he was a tech guy. And he's like, we were stationed in a country we're not in. And he goes, and he's a communications director, and there's this huge screen, and they're watching two dots get closer, and the staff sergeant asked him, it's like, how far are those apart? And he goes, about 4 inches, sir. And he goes, and it was one of those things where half the room laughed and half the room was like, okay, that's incredibly funny, but do I get court-martialed for laughing at that? But he would talk about what the girl's name again?
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle. You say, oh, Meghan Markle. And he would be like, oh, right. The girl from the Dorito commercial. Like you mention an actor or an actress and he knows the most obscure thing they were in. Like,
if he had a website, it would be YMDB. Like, why do you know this?
Well, no, but he does it. It's like, oh, Scarlett Johansson.
IMDb list.
Scarlett Johansson. And he'd be like, oh, right. The neighbor in Beethoven 4. Like maybe like the first thing she was in like 20 years ago. And people like, no, the Scarlett. And like, wait, was she in Beethoven 4? Why do you know that? But he always goes with like the most obscure thing. And again, this girl, Dorito commercial, Suits, and we're going to be bombarded with it. And over there, I can imagine how awful it is. If you or me or you in England, and we're like, why do we still have the monarchy? It's like, it's a figurehead. Right. They make all this money. And you're like,
I wish I knew the speech of like the common people in Monty Python's The Holy Grail, we're living in a democracy. You're fooling yourself.
Yeah, we don't pick leaders based on some aquatical ceremony.
Right, just because some watery twat throws you a sword.
Yeah. He's king. How do you know he's king? He's not covered in shit.
Right. So anyways.
But that's it. I mean, like when we see, this proposed like military thing that we talked about parade, and where like the money, like you're gonna first of all the money to put it on, and then the money to fix the roads after. This is so useless. That wedding is the dress that she's going to wear probably costs more than the military.
Yeah. Well, we're about 2 steps away from that here.
And what happens though do they have the royal divorce in 3 years?
No. Well, remember Sarah Ferguson and Diane.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's stupid. It's so silly.
But I only bring it up
and
because
don't give them any ideas. By the way, we don't need that happening in our lives. So, anyways,
hey, what was the last thing that went through Princess Diana's mind?
Oh, come on.
I think it was a radiator.
Anyway, next.
So again, I'm 14. I'm 14 in 2 ways. 3 ways. The speech on this podcast. We'll start with that. The fact that I can't drive a car and I need to be driven around everywhere to get to the junior high dances.
Check.
And getting giddy when you think you see boobs in a place you don't expect to see boobs.
Oh. Well, explain.
So, I propped up on the chair the other day, like trying to get out the timing sheets for the game coming up. Blue Blood's playing in the background. Some commercial goes on, and I look, and it's for one. And I'm not paying attention to it. I just look, and it's some cute, woman, white, like button-down shirt, unbuttoned, sitting on the bed, and it looks like she's naked, but it was like an invisible bra thing. And I put the screen down on the computer. I'm like, what is this? And I got giddy and excited, and then I'm like, I'm sitting with a $3,000 porn machine on my lap.
I like that, though. You know what? I myself do those throwback things. Like, I'm not a hardcore guy all the time. Like, sometimes I like the innocence of, something like that where you had to work for it. Remember when you had to work for it, when you had to use your imagination? Like when you played Atari, you had to imagine that was a spaceship, not just a red dot on the screen.
Right.
Where, you'd have to use your imagination. Like, you'd be watching, I don't know, Gilligan's Island, for example. And then you have to imagine what Tina Louise looked like under that bikini. And,
hot.
Yeah, right. But I do like but there is something intriguing about the mystique, about like, not just being exposed. I think because we are so desensitized to it now, because thanks to the internet, we can see it literally anytime we want to. The fact that when you're not expecting it, it's more pleasant, or I don't know, there's something to it. It adds a little flavor to your day.
Well, remember when Peter Griffin had his own network and he programmed Side Boob Hour?
Right. This is side boob. How about this side boob? How about this side boob? Well, that's my side boob.
But it's seriously, it is one of those. I think it's why like websites like
Mr. Skin?
Mr. Skin are so. Or isn't there a celebrity version of that, or is that Mr. Skin?
That is a celebrity one.
And it's like, okay, in this movie that Scarlett Johansson did 20 years ago, there's a really great side boob at the 1 hour, 3 minute, 8-second mark.
I'm sure. Have you heard him on radio interviews?
Oh yeah.
He's great.
He is fantastic.
Yeah, because his story is amazing because he used to work at like the Chicago Stock Mercantile or something like that, and basically like in the pits of like this Wall Street type area, and there'd be a lot of downtime during the day, and this is all pre-internet. Somebody would just yell out like Phoebe Cates. And he'd be like, "Fast Times at Ridgemont High," 1 hour and 20 minutes in. He know the exact. He was a savant in that respect, where he would know the exact where things were, where all the good parts were, and then they built an industry on it. And now he's my god.
But that's
funny.
Who
I pray to.
So here it is on Ion. During a Blue Bloods thing, in between Oxygen and Lifeline commercials, I look up because I'm not paying attention. I'm like, is that woman naked? Am I watching like French television or something? and I'm like, oh my god! I literally became a 14-year-old boy. Like I'm seeing boob unexpectedly, and I'm like, this is great. And again, I'm pretty sure one of the browsers open might have had like awful, unspeakable things, but I'm like, but that was like more intriguing.
You know what's funny though? You ever see those like tests online of like partially written letters, and then your brain would fill in the rest?
Yes.
This is that for you.
Right.
Your brain was filling in the boobies. Like you thought for a second, like you saw a form that resembled in your mind boobies, and then you automatically filled in the blank yourself. So I think that's the phenomenon. I think we're just getting down to the bottom line that you're a pervert. That's,
Yeah, right.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. No argument coming from here. So on the let's get to Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. Did you see the Sinclair television montage of the local news editorial that went around the other day?
Yes, I did. Deadspin put it together.
Is it the scariest? Like honestly, you saw Get Out.
Yeah.
Is this scarier than Get Out?
It's up there. It's not going to win any awards, but it's
the only difference was, we here in mid Illinois, we hear like the only change was in Boston.
We here at KCOP News,
only difference, but it was word for and literally, and you could tell the way the script was written. You emphasize. And in this sentence, you emphasize the last syllable of this word. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, and when they started it and they cut from channel to channel to channel, it's like, wow, that's really bad. But then when they ended up having the boxes and it's over 100 stations.
Yeah, there were like 20 boxes. And then the guy who put this together for Deadspin, the montage, he synchronized all of the same exact speech from 20 different markets. And did you see the map of how many stations Sinclair runs?
Well, I mean,
in the United States, and mostly there's a lot of it actually in like the Northwest, which I was surprised to see. There was I saw Utah and Nevada, and I kind of expected that, but like Washington, California, Northern California.
In Central California, like between the irony is between Los Angeles and San Francisco, it's like a 5-hour drive. It's all red. Like 20 mile radius around San Fran, a 20-mile radius around LA. It's liberal. Blue Bloods. Thank you. I was trying not to say Blue Blood, but in between that, your Bakersfield and your Fresno. A, fantastic meth. B, the women there are Rhode Island pretty, but all except for the migrant workers. That's where all the farming is done. It's completely over concerned. It's like you got that's where Dennis Nunez's from, who's the worst person going, but wins election without having to campaign because he's there
because they like having kings apparently.
But that's the scary thing. It's like and then there's but Sinclair, they are just huge. And again, you go back to Citizen Kane. The whole idea with that movie was and the brilliance of the movie or the balls of the movie is he was the most powerful media tycoon in the world who owned half the movie theaters. So, I mean, the reason Citizen Kane didn't do great at the box office when it came out is William Randolph Hearst wouldn't let it show. He owned half the movie theaters in the country. He owned half the radio stations in the country, and he owned half the newspapers. I mean, there wasn't TV. And the fact that, he took on this giant whose newspapers would only write bad reviews, whose radio would only say bad things about the movie, and the movie theaters wouldn't play it. But he stood up to that. And I don't think it's because of that movie, but it didn't hurt when people started to realize, okay, one person, one company shouldn't have this much control. And all growing up, I just, when cable expanded, they rewrote the laws, but you couldn't own a radio station and a newspaper in the town. You couldn't own a newspaper, and you couldn't own like one of each. Like the Globe could not also own RKO Radio and Channel 5 here, But unfortunately, and this is, the thing that, Bill Clinton really fucked up with, and no, not the Monica Lewinsky thing. Who cares about the Monica Lewinsky thing? It's the fact that he deregulated a lot of those rules that had been in place for like 40, 50 years at that point, making it possible for, you to be able to own 2 or 3 TV stations, you to be able to own multiple radio or multiple newspapers in the same city. So,
But I thought the FCC rollbacks were more recently. I thought the softening of the ownership rules for radio and television stations had just recently been kind of rolled back. I didn't realize it had gone so far back.
Yeah, it started with Bill Clinton. I forget what the act was that put it in place. But then it only got worse under 4 years. Because I mean, let's go back. Reagan, by today's standards, was a very conservative Democrat. Clinton, by today's standards, is a very liberal Republican. I mean, by where we are now, I mean, and seriously, when Hillary was running, and that was a good thing about Bernie, that he pushed her more to the left. But the truth is, it's like, a lot of this started with in the Clinton administration, but now there's no holds bar. And again, we've talked about like the horrible thing of net neutrality. But that's the thing. It's like, here's Sinclair. In the merge, in the mix of buying, I believe is it Comcast that there's a huge deal pending right now that Sinclair's market share could nearly quadruple.
Tribune?
Yeah, it's a Tribune.
Yeah, the Tribune stations. And they want to acquire Tribune Media. Yeah. And Tribune, I think, owns Hearst owns Channel 5. Tribune owns I forget who they own locally here. But it's that's crazy. That's just I know. But what kind of opposition is there? Like who's to stop them from
Well, that's why in the current political climate where they want absolutely no regulations at all. And this is it. This is like the de-information war is only going to get worse. I mean, honestly, what scares me more than anything is that things like Sinclair will normalize the Alex Joneses, will normalize InfoWars. If it leans and it's saying the same crazy shit that you're all for, they'll be behind it.
It's like they're trying to be their own CNN, but this is much more insidious because this is free television. It's over the air. It's paid for by tax dollars. It's not CNN. CNN is paid for by subscriptions to cable.
And on CNN's...
they're one of many. And I know that's kind of the way it is now. But in a lot of rural areas, a lot of people don't have cable.
They don't.
And people cut the cord in more metropolitan areas, too. So if they want to catch local news, then that's what they're going to get. They're not going to go to CNN.
I mean, there's still a generation. Again, like my mom-in-law, like she watches like the local, CBS affiliate all day and gets that news. And she doesn't know CNN and MSNBC. And truly, as biased as I am, as biased as MSNBC is, like MSNBC has like Richard Steele on all the time, who's the black dude who used to be head of the RNC, who's a funny guy. I mean, he's one of the voices like the last 10 years who's like, I'm out. Like I'm still a conservative Republican.
But I'm not this guy.
But this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Like even before Trump, he was like, this shit is crazy. I'm out. And they have him on MSNBC all the time. And he'll talk about he won't talk about in a favorable way about what's going on with that, but he'll talk about, hey, this policy isn't as bad as you think if you take this into account, and they'll have those on, like the Sinclairs, the Foxes. They don't. There is no moderates on there.
Yep. Well, that's too bad for America. Oh well.
So
At least Laura Ingraham still has a job.
she does. It's funny though. She went on that vacation last week.
Yeah, where was it? Where did she go?
She was went off the air.
Oh, that's it.
to shit's really happening. No one knew about this, but this vacation was scheduled anyways. I'm out of here.
Well, yeah, but regardless of how many sponsors it dropped her, I like that the My Pillow company is still like
Still
clutching.
holding
Yeah. Have you ever seen the My Pillow commercials?
No, not on Fox.
No. Oh, well, do you watch Fox?
No.
But My Pillow, they advertise on regular television and on other cable stations too. And the guy's kind of he looks like
The mustache has a mustache.
he looks and talks like Jesse Ventura because he's from Minnesota.
Okay.
Hi, I'm what's his face from mypillow.com, and I'm gonna make your life a living hell.
You buy one pillow and you get one free.
Right.
Type.
If
Okay,
you don't
I
like
see.
my pillows, then fuck you. That guy just cracks me up, and he's creepy too. Like he's kind of creepy. I don't know if he has any 9/11 conspiracies like Jesse Ventura does.
He looks like an InfoWar guy.
Yeah. But so that's the kind of ilk we have to support Laura Ingraham. But luckily, there's many more like them. I'm surprised that Dana Loesch's Beats company is also a sponsor of Laura Ingram's. Like, how many more companies are there that would that would be a nice exercise. Watch Laura Ingram's show for an hour just to see what kind of advertisers.
Can I watch it with the volume down?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll do. Well, the great thing is she went on this unexpected vacation last week, and she still lost a couple sponsors while she was gone because the heat didn't come off the sponsors.
Her travel agent dropped her. Like,
Yeah.
she must have had a hard time finding a hotel.
Yeah, because like TripAdvisor and
Or Trivago.
Right,
Maybe
both-
it's TripAdvisor. Yeah.
both got rid of her. So that's always good times that you're on vacation because you're such a horrible person. They had to let the dust settle, and the dust still hasn't settled. So we will find out. But yeah, I mean, and now it's going to be interesting, to see how she comes back. But what's sad, it's like, and I don't even want to give it more than a 10-second thing, but there's a small guy who has a local show on a radio station in St. Louis on regular radio. And he also has like a small local TV show, not cable access, like on a regular station, but his own show. And he's a conservative wingnut. And he, the other day, was like, said, like, I have a red hot poker that I'm getting ready to stuff up David Hogg's ass. It's like, and what I don't understand is if you say that on a radio station over there, you say that on TV, you're advocating torturing and sexually molesting a 17-year-old boy. How you're not arrested? Like, how do you get away with that? Like, how is that?
It depends on how it's delivered, and it's awful. It's awful that we have to kind of defend this sort of inflammatory talk, but like Howard Stern did this kind of shit for years in a very jestful way, like very obvious, like this guy is making a joke, kinda, sorta. Maybe they can use that sort of same defense in this respect, where he's playing a character. This is all for show. That's not really a threat. I'm not really going to. This is all metaphorical. I have a metaphorical hot poker that I'm going to metaphorically stick up David Hogg's metaphorical ass.
Right. You are metaphorically a douchebag.
Yeah. But so that's the sort of thing that we kind of have to, I guess, all play by the same rules, I guess, is that if you can make jokes about it in satire, like what that sort of like, that's the other thing is Alex Jones, for example, always or had recently come out and said, what I do on the air is satire. This is a.
He was saying that during his divorce, his divorce case.
Okay.
That's why he was saying it. That it was all just for it. And then after he didn't, like, his wife was filing for sole custody of the kids, and she's like,
who has sole custody? The Democrats. They have custody of your soul.
And sole custody. See what he's done there?
Oh, fuck off.
Do you listen to InfoWars? I mean, because that's that. First of all, kudos. That was great.
Oh,
Soul
yeah.
Soul custody.
Yeah.
I saw what you did.
Bravo.
But yeah, so the wife and the lawyer and he tried to get up on the stands and say that no, it was just an act and blah blah blah. And then he was asked like when his 3 kids' birthdays were, and he couldn't remember. And honestly, it's one of my favorite defenses of all time. And if you want to go to the Google machine, or if lock to Google, you want to bing it, you go ahead and give it a bang. He couldn't remember. Because he just ate a big bowl of chili. And I swear to God, if there is a God, I'd be swearing to it that was his defense. And he couldn't remember his children's birthdays. And he said, it's just an act. It's just an act. In that
The old bowl of chili defense.
Right. And then after, there's nothing in the rule book that says an elephant can't pitch. I actually used that last night when there was a controversy of if it's still in play or
right,
not.
Right. All right, in your arena football league.
And three guys looked at me and goes, "Oh, that's great."
By the way, you should check your rule book to see if an elephant can't play. If not, you got to put that in there.
And was it the Simpsons? Yeah, there was no.
What that
when
line?
the Simpsons went to Boston and had to root for, and they're all watching the bar, and like the quarterback throws it. It's like, oh, he's just throwing the ball away. Oh wait, the mascot's on the field and catches it, and because there was a rule that actually said the mascot.
Oh right, there was an obscure rule that favors the Patriots. Yeah.
So, but no, anyway, so back to the Alex Jones. So he says that, it was all an act. And then when the judge is like, yeah, you're batshit crazy. You're giving your ex-wife this money. She has the kids. And then he had to save his fan base. He goes, oh, I was just saying that, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, every word of what I'm saying.
Everything in that deposition was an act. I mean, how many sheeple are out there actually? I mean, come on.
You're scaring me now, dude.
I'm scaring you because I'm telling the truth.
And he's selling if you could see if this was a video podcast.
Thank God it's not.
Then hey, we might have 8 Facebook followers, just like you sent me that link, the Arlington guy.
Oh yeah, Steve Katzos.
We're not doing this. He had 8 people watching. He's been doing it.
He had
9
Lenny
years.
Clark on.
Yeah, you have Lenny Clark. We'll bring that up on another day. But when you did that, so let's move on to the happy thing. So I'll ask you. So Putin, Pruitt is under the gun, the EPA guy, the worst EPA person ever. I'm not going to get into the detail. His travel scandals are epic at this point.
Yep.
Are epic. A lot of GOP people are saying he's got to get the fuck out. I mean, the spending is atrocious is what he's doing. The absolute, the whole thing with his apartment in D.C.
The whole $50 a night. When all the surrounding B&Bs are somewhere in the vicinity of $100 to $200 a night.
Right. At the bare minimum.
Actually, and the cheapest is like $200.
Well, the thing is, it's not. Yeah, and he was there renting on only the days he stayed there. It's like, where do you get to rent? Anyway, it's not getting down.
Well, what about was it him where they they knocked on his door and they couldn't find him and he was taking a nap?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last week?
And also,
did I hear that from you?
You might no, but what you did hear or are going to hear is he had a room built at the EPA with 3-foot cement walls, like a panic room, just so he could have phone calls with the president in there that nobody outside the office could. I'm dead serious. They spent tens of thousands of dollars building him a special, not a secret room. People knew about it. But the bigger thing is he went for the people who were giving him a room for $50 a night.
Isn't any room that you take the telephone call from the president of the United States a panic room?
Yeah, I think so. Well played, sir. But he
just laugh at the joke. You don't have to underscore it and give me your 2 cents on how funny my joke is. Just laugh.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey, fair enough. You were saying,
but yeah, I mean, he's hawking for the liquid gas company. Now it turned out he took everybody to Monaco. We knew it was a layover in Paris on the way back, just for one night. No big deal. Just scheduled the routing through there. Not really a good thing to do, but hey, it's not the end of the world. Except the next day, coincidentally, all 40 people missed the same connecting flight. Stayed another night in Paris on the down. Anyways, it's all this stuff. But he is doing the devil's work. He is doing the work. The Koch brothers love him. Like, all the right people love him on that side because he's gutting everything. He's gutting all regulation for industry as far as it goes for the environment. So all the coal people love him. All the natural gas people obviously love him. The right people love him, but the pressure's coming on. At the same time, right now, do you know who the advisor is? Like now that Bolton doesn't start until Monday. What's his face? Now, why am I blanking on his name? Who's out? The guy that just got the general.
Jennifer. And how quickly I don't. McMaster.
McMaster. But if you gotta check this out if you haven't seen it. He was really popular. Like everybody in the White House loved him, and even Rachel Maddow was doing this about it because this is footage you don't. This is not normal. His last day of office, when he was leaving the office. Everybody from the White House and the staff like lined up and was giving him a huge round of applause. It was like a hero's welcome,
send off,
but in an exit, right?
Yeah,
it
was like Ted Williams.
His last at bat sort of thing. I will say that and it's me being a snowflake. I noticed awful lot of honkies in that line wishing him well because I don't think they let anybody. Anyways, but he got this hero send off. And so as of right now, over the weekend, there's nobody in that position. Bolton is supposed to start Monday, but now the thing is like, and again, it's not like, it's surface and you had to dig for it. A lot of things he has done has completely put him at odds in like conflict for this role. Like being a paid spokesperson for the Russian, it's not a government agency, but it's a government-backed agency about guns in Russia and making them available to the public, which Putin's against, but it's one of these smoke screens so the NRA can say, look, they're trying in Russia to get the same freedoms we have here. You got to protect them here. But Bolton is being paid by Russian companies to be a spokesperson on their behalf and has been for the last decade. And they had all these times that he's been over there on their dime, speaking to like large groups of people. You can't go from being a paid consultant to Russian entities to being, secretary of
of whatever. Yeah, great. Well, good. America's on fire.
So who do you think is out first this week? Do you think Bolton doesn't? If you had to pick, either Scott Pruitt's out at the EPA, Bolton doesn't, or here's the third thing. I'll give you three choices.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Pruitt's out at the EPA.
Pruitt.
Bolton can't take over the secretary job, or here's the one that I'm hoping doesn't happen, but it's taken some traction.
A little wild card.
Is that everybody's favorite, Keebler Elf Sessions is tossed out, and Pruitt is promoted to
AG.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Can I get some think music or something?
Yeah.
Let's see. Pruitt is a pretty scummy person, but Bolton is a little incompetent and conflicted. And, all right, I'm going to say none. None of it's going to happen. I think there's going to be a fourth. Why not? There's going to be something else.
Go with the wild card.
Yeah, there's going to be Jared Kushner is going to rear his ugly head once again somehow.
I got a plan. I'm going to hide her to a pile of coats and hope everything works out.
That's a great plan.
Last thing before we go to a defunct sponsor, and we won't spend a long time on this. But 2 weeks,
I've heard that before.
2 weeks ago, we mentioned, we being me, talked about the teacher strike in Oklahoma. Sorry, still going strong. Still going strong and no end in sight. And again, it's just like the strike, down in West Virginia where they're like, okay, give us a raise. That's great. We still don't have substitute teachers. We still have no supplies. We still can't function and teach children. Like we are falling further and further behind. Giving us a 5% raise is great. But that doesn't help the fact that, and again, it's one of those failed red states. You look at it, and now Kansas has very publicly, the Kansas teachers are like, we're probably following suit if we can't get our ducks in a row. Now, luckily, it's the end of the school year, so they might not. But we're not talking a one-day walkout. We are, and now, in Oklahoma, they're now on week 3 of this.
Well, this just opens the door for more privatization of public schools. That's all it is. This is all part of the master plan.
You think that?
I think it's just they're going to smoke them out, and they're going to they're. I don't know. I think if I were being totally cynical, I would say that this is exactly what the U.S. Department of Education definitely wants to do right now, is to privatize all this shit.
Right, Betsy DeVos is the champion of that.
Yeah, so, maybe watch all of this sort of crumble before them, and then when they come, when the states come begging to the federal government to intervene, we have a solution. Why don't we send out vouchers? To private schools, and have all these people who used to go to public school now go to private schools.
But that's maybe
some faith-based schools in there.
Yeah. Oh, in Oklahoma. Yeah. Pretty right on. But anyways, it's another one. Again, I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, and that's probably like the fourth dimensional chess thing that they're doing. But if you have the money to build these schools, you don't have the money to buy paper and school supplies for the public schools there now. You do. You don't want to.
All right,
is what you're saying. All right.
Yeah. That's the. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just thinking about the sweet defunct sponsor money that I'm going to be spending.
Can one of our defunct sponsors be the Oklahoma school system? How is that possible?
I know, right? Is that we were a little cart before the horse. But anyway, here's a defunct sponsor for you.
Some people will do anything to take their favorite video games everywhere they go. But now Tiger gives you all the fun and excitement of your favorite arcade game in the palm of your hand. Games like Jordan vs. Bird, 7 game variations make going one-on-one with your favorite basketball heroes a real matchup of thrills and action. Also coming soon from Tiger, Double Dragon, Gauntlet, Karnov, and Simon's Quest. Tiger LCD Video Games.
Okay, so with sports, we've already talked the undefeated Massachusetts Pirates of Worcester.
Are tickets still available?
Tickets are still available. The next home game is March 6th against, I believe it's Cleveland comes to town.
That's amazing because it's April.
You suck. May 6th. So, and again, any listener wants some free tickets, you just let me know.
Floor? If you want.
No, you don't want floor. Like the fun thing is.
No. Our listeners.
Oh, floor. I thought you meant like floor seats.
Not floor seats.
Yes,
no, come on.
But floor can't come with Steve. So that's a personal matter.
Right.
Oh, so I won't get more into football, but I'm going to talk a couple hockey things. Playoffs are about to start. Not going to even talk about the playoffs. The Sedin twins, and Joe's not a huge hockey guy, but the Sedin twins are ending a very lengthy NHL career. I was lucky enough to be a part-time resident of Vancouver when the Sedin brothers got up there, and it was just great planning, a little luck, but they fell in the draft, and they were drafted like 5 spots apart. Like, one brother was drafted like number 2, number 3 overall, and his identical twin brother, and I think they were 19 or 20 when they came to the NHL. So they have been playing pro hockey in Sweden for a couple years. I am very lucky to have seen them play live maybe 25 times. And if you Google their highlights, it's one of those things where is there something to being twins? The knowing where the other one is, the nonverbal communication. But there was a good 10-year window where each one of them would be in the top 10 scoring in the NHL. They were truly magic. They were truly great as individuals. They were truly magic together. And, one brother would score a few more goals than his other, but one was a little better of a goal scorer, one was a little better as a passer, but together it didn't really matter. Like, Joe, you could have me be the third player on that line, and I'm going to be in the top 25 in scoring. And of course, being a Kings fan all these years, the Bruins playing him in the Stanley Cup, I admit it. I'm one of the people who often refer to them as the Sedin sisters. They weren't physical people, and I go to my grave taking pride in this. One of the 2 Sedin brothers in the 2011 season, 2010-2011 season, was the number 1 goal scorer in the league. And in 7 games against the Bruins in the 2011 Stanley Cup, in the 7 games against the Bruins, this unbelievable gifted goal scorer, the number 1 goal scorer in that league, only had 1 more point in those 7 games than I did.
Oh my God!
The first 2 games, one was 1-0 in overtime. The next game was 2-1 in overtime, and then when they came to Boston, Sean Thornton truly knocked him into plaid, and the rest of the playoffs, he was seeing shadows. He was hearing footsteps, and the one point that he did have was in a 7-2 blowout, and it was late in the third period, and he got a point. But honestly, they were magic. I'm gonna, their highlight reels, will stand the test of time. And again, I was lucky to have been in Vancouver when they started playing in Vancouver. So the 2 years I spent some time in there, I saw them. And again, as a King regular, I tell people I was a King season ticket holder because my buddy John, our friend, he had season tickets. He's had season tickets since the 70s. He goes to about 3 or 4 games a year. And my job, my job was to make sure that the seats were filled. And I would only go after I would go down the list of the 10 normal people to call beforehand. I would call Biff, All-Star Tommy, and then go. So I've seen the Sedins at least 25 times, and I'm lucky for it.
Well, that's great. That is great. I'm just reading about their last game on Thursday and how they I think they share a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nice. It's like Ted Williams hitting a home run his last at bat at Fenway.
Yeah, so that's nice. It's heartwarming, and of course, they're Canadian.
No, Swedish.
I mean, they were eventually Canadian.
right. Well, they're going to live in Vancouver. I mean, because they've been playing I think it's 16 years, something like that,
right.
16, 17 years. And so they come over here in their late teens, early 20s. But where did they get married? Where did they have kids? Where did they raise their families?
I bet they still have all their original teeth.
Well, they aren't the most physical,
Yeah.
Couple gingers too, that's something that people always knocked out. Like that has anything to do with anything. But
Can they speak English well?
Yeah. They
what I'm getting at is that are we going to see them in broadcast?
No. I don't. Well, you know what? They might be Swedish broadcasters. They've won 2 gold medals with Team Sweden and stuff like that. No, but I think. It'd be interesting because they're not very public. They're not very.
Yeah, they're just
out there.
They're mensches. They're
right.
For lack of a better word.
And the other thing is so. There's been maybe 3 or 4 times in the last year I'll see something on the same hockey Twitter pages that Biff is on, and I'll be like, oh, what a coincidence! A piece of dust flew in my eye just as I read this hockey story, that hockey story. Oh, the one sad hockey story is there was a junior team in Saskatchewan that was in a bad bus accident.
I know. I just heard that this morning.
Dude,
oh my God!
What
happened?
Well, they're figuring it out, but it was the team bus and an 18-wheeler. And if you see the accident,
I did. It was awful. I mean, yeah, the 18-wheeler T-boned.
Yeah,
this thing.
And the bus roof just
15 died, and I think 17 are still injured.
Yeah, all in the hospital.
Yeah, well,
they're babies.
Yeah,
we're talking
right. College. Oh God.
And it is. It's it is. It's just horrible, and that's a horrible hockey story.
Why don't we ban all 18-wheelers then, man?
Right. Why aren't there seatbelts on buses? Why aren't there seatbelts on buses?
Yeah.
I went on a field trip with the little guy, just sidebar real quickly, and I'm like, oh, that's right. School buses don't have seatbelts,
right.
And they also...
The seatbelts on the bus go, where the fuck are the seatbelts?
But you think about that, before we moved from Wilmington, it's the only time the boys have taken a bus, and it's my youngest... let's say sitting still for long periods of time, more than a minute, not his strong suit. Now you put 30 of those on a bus. It's those people combat pay. But the other hockey thing that I did want to mention is the Las Vegas Knights expansion team, a true expansion team, not a relocation team, expanded. I think they had the best season in hockey history for an expansion team, the most wins. And it's really funny. They credit the Vegas Knights amazing run to good goaltending, good drafting, good coaching, and a large part the Vegas flu. seems like a lot of teams that come to Vegas don't play that well the next day. Their home record is they're like 750 at home, 800 winning percentage at home, about 400 winning percentage on the road. And people were always worried about that. It's like, because again, hockey players are between 20 and 30-year-olds,
right?
Have a few bucks in their pocket.
Go on.
Vegas.
Oh, yes, of course.
So the Vegas flu. I've dealt with the games day up there guy a number of times. Came from the Cleveland Cavaliers. His name is Johnny Gomes. Not the Johnny Gomes, the baseball player here. I'm sorry, John Gecko, Geco. And I saw this online, and I reached out. I called him. I said, I've not seen anything that great. And literally,
Ever?
Thank you. Yeah, they retired the number 58.
Why? What's the significance
for
of
the 58 victims of the gun shooting in Vegas this year? And part of the ceremony is they, with the laser lights, had all the 58 people's names on the ice. And it's just, the league didn't ask them to do that. They didn't make a big announcement like, oh, in 2 months, come because we're doing this. It was kind of a surprise thing. And it was very genuine. And so, because I read that, it's like Vegas night number retiring. It's like, well, how good is this guy that he's retiring his number and they haven't even played a full season yet?
Yeah.
And honestly, things like that, and I could go down the list. It's tiny. I'm not putting this in the same category. But I remember, I think I was like 13, 14, when the Bruins were going to retire Phil Esposito's name. I mean, Phil Esposito's one of the greats of greats. He left Boston and the relationship soured really quickly. We can do a whole podcast sideshow on that, and maybe we'll someday. But he wore number 7, and a couple of years after they traded him to the Rangers, along comes Ray Bourque, who's probably the third best defenseman in Bruins history. Obviously, his number 7 was going to be retired at one point, and he had been wearing number 7 for about 10, 12 years at this point. And they said that, they'll retire 2 number 7s after that when they retired Phil Esposito's number. 2 people on the planet knew what Ray Bourque was going to do that night. Ray Bourque and the trainer who stitched up his jersey. So Ray skates over at the retiring ceremony and gives, Phil Esposito his Phil Esposito number 7 jersey, then takes off his glove and helmet and took off his jersey.
Which had number 7 on it.
Yeah, which had number 7, takes off that jersey, and number 77 is under the, and the players didn't know, owners didn't know, nobody knew. He took Foster Hewitt, I'm blanking his last name, Frosty, was their stick guy, equipment manager. He the night before had sewn the 77 jersey by hand together. And here's this 60-year-old tough guy, Italian, mafia, like Goodfellas looking dude, just blubbering. And there wasn't anybody in the crowd who wasn't, and I
think the ice was melting that day too.
They say his heart
grew 3 times that day.
But it's true. It's like hockey tends to do this, but what Vegas did is on a different level. And like we keep saying, people haven't talked about it, but it was nice, a really nice public acknowledgement or something like that. But anyways, sports.
You have any more sad, depressing hockey stories or anything else?
Yeah, right?
I mean, honestly, like every one of those was weeping.
I'll tell you a happy story. It's a sad story for me, but happy for everybody else. And I'll bring it up because All-Star Tommy pointed out, we were texting this week, one of his favorite hockey stories. The first time I get to play, I got called up from the smaller junior team to the larger one. And wasn't a coach wasn't a fan of mine.
Okay.
We'll put it like that. The first game I played, it was an 8-hour bus ride both ways. 8 hours there, 8 hours back. I was on the ice one time. The goalie got an unsportsmanlike penalty, and I had to go serve the penalty. So I skated across the ice, got in the box, and I skated back. And then it was like the next game, I was going to actually, possibly play. And he says, if you accidentally wind up with the puck on your stick, get your head out of your ass and find somebody better than you to pass it to. He points around the room. Everybody here is better than you. And it sounds funny now. He wasn't joking. He didn't. He wasn't a huckster kind of guy. He was really, and it's like, why did you call me up? There was like 18 other kids on the team underneath this. Why didn't you call me up? And I guess I served penalties for goalie unsportsmanlike things better than anybody at the time.
Like a boss.
But, yeah, so there's a happy hockey story for the rest of you. Find somebody who's better than you.
Your hockey tip of the week.
Everybody here is better than you.
All right.
You know what? Nobody's better than you in the random video game review of the week.
Okay.
Only 2 more, this podcast and 2 others, you have to actually get up and get your own video game.
Oh, man. I'm going to need a wheelchair by the end of this.
18 days until this fucking cast comes off.
I know. We need a countdown of some sort.
Oh, believe me.
There is, yeah.
Like, I think my mom has an advent calendar for it. She had to make like 5 trips to Worcester in the past like week.
All right, here I go. I'm going to go up to my Nintendo Entertainment System game shelf and then
you don't have to lock yourself into that. You can pick from any of your shelves.
All right, we're going to
They're your shelves.
We're going to expand.
They're your games.
All right, here I go.
We won't have a Pat Country review, which I'm good at. You know, I mean, your reviews are good enough for me.
All right, I'm going to do the old press your luck, where I'm going to wave my hand over a bunch of games, just waving them back and forth, and then when I say, or when Jacques yells stop, he is going to be the recipient of a great, great game review. You wait and see.
Okay. Big money, no whammies, and stop.
It's a boxed game.
Ooh.
It's a Nintendo boxed game.
Whoa.
I can't see it. Don't show
By
me.
boxed game, he means it's in its original packaging. Now it's originally on the floor because I just dropped it. But I just didn't want you
that
to
really
see.
ups the resale.
I think we're okay here.
It's got a thin candy shell. Your brain has the shell on it.
Your brain's shell on
Got
it.
that? I think your brain has a thick candy shell. All right, so it's one of my boxed Nintendo games, of which I have, I don't know, 24, maybe 20 on the top shelf. So it's not Tecmo Bowl and it's not Trog, and I only have a few of them. So of course you would think I would know exactly which one this is, and I'm not going to freeze under the pressure, and I'm just not going to vamp and keep talking like I know the answer, but I'm just going to make you wait for it.
You're trailing off there.
Did I catch a niner in there? Are you calling from a walkie-talkie? What fucking game is this? It's not Tecmo Bowl. Yeah, of course I stare at these all day long. You would think I... Come on, man. What is it? Is it... I don't know. God damn it, I don't know. I don't know. And it's going to kill me. Because obviously I'm going to know exactly. He dropped it on the floor. And now he's going to get it no.
Hold on.
Are you gonna,
lightly.
Nice stick handling there.
Let me give you a hint. You're looking at that wall.
Tetris.
Yes.
All right, Tetris. Yes. It's Tetris.
I was going to say,
It came to me.
You got to make the pieces fit together there.
Oh, what a classic. God bless this game, Tetris. Do you know something? If you really want, I'm going to do another YouTuber pitch here, or promo. If you're interested in the history of Tetris, look no further on YouTube than The Gaming Historian, whom I mentioned to Jacques in the past for, to learn about other things. I think it was like the history of the Super Mario Brothers movie was the one.
I think that, yeah, and that guy's, his reviews used to be kind of like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
Info only.
Yeah.
And then he's got a little better production value.
Yeah, this is one of his newest videos, and it's probably his best. It's about an hour long. It's got animation in it. It's got original footage, but it's about the history of Tetris. Check it out on YouTube, The Gaming Historian, the story of Tetris. But the game Tetris, do I really have to review Tetris?
No.
But it's a game that came out. It's a fascinating story because it was started by this guy, Alexei Pajitnov, and in the Soviet Union in the early 80s for I think he was working at some sort of a state-run, research company that had this one of the only computers in Russia, but it was like one of these room-sized computers. And for fun, he and the other programmers would program games. Like he wasn't the only one that's kind of like program, and they would let them do that. Like they would be fine with you doing that. But when they happened upon Tetris, that's when like it got passed around. It just got circulated amongst all the other computer engineers in the country. It made its way overseas eventually, and it was adapted for different computers across the world. And the story is way too complex to get into now, so that's why I say go to YouTube, watch the Gaming Historian, the story of Tetris, because it's a tangled web of like the licensing and how Alexei Pajitnov didn't see any money out of this until maybe 20, 30 years later, after the fall of the Soviet Union, and when the rights, when the rights went from the Russian government to this other company that bought the rights to it. It's a tangled web, but it's as fascinating and as amazing as the game is.
Does it have a happy ending?
It does.
Okay.
It has. I mean, the guy's a millionaire now.
Good.
And also he is part owner of the Tetris company. And I don't know if you notice, like if you walk into like GameStop or whatever, and they have like toys that are based on Tetris. All of that is run by the Tetris company. So it's like him and another partner. They license Tetris now. Like they are like the sole licensees of Tetris. Everything around the world. So yeah, and it's an amazing story. It's an amazing game. I mean, when did you? I first got Tetris for the Game Boy. When I first, actually it was my sister's Game Boy, which I had co-opted because she wasn't into it. I don't know why my mother got her the Game Boy. Maybe because I had all the video game stuff and
she loved her.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's right. Maybe tapping into something there. But I stole the Tetris, and I still have a Tetris today. I mean, I have the Game Boy Tetris. I have this. There's so many versions of Tetris. When did you play for? Have you ever played Tetris?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
It's probably one of the three things. Like before, I found this newer app about 6 months ago. I found this app. I don't know if you heard of Twitter, but before that, like my bathroom time was largely spent between Tetris and Temple Run. Our good friend John. And I don't blame him. Usually the whole way home from hockey was playing Tetris, half listening to basically he got the pre-carnival personnel podcast
lucky
from
him.
me once a week, an hour each way. But yeah, he was a big Tetris guy, and I did. And sometimes like the little guys have seen me play, and they're like, "You're really good at this," and I do. Little brag that I start on the hardest level that the phone has. It probably isn't that hard at all, but yeah, I love it.
Now, you're probably wondering, now Joe has to get up and then get the ultimate Nintendo guide because he picked a Nintendo game so that he can read Pat Contry's review. You would be wrong, sir.
Would I?
Yes, because I have the Ultimate NES app put out by Pat Contry.
But the book's more fun. It has pictures.
Exactly. Well, this has some pictures, but this also has the review.
Let's have it.
Every game. So this is Pat Contry's review.
But it's not as fun as
You thought you could get out of it, but you were wrong. In this puzzle title, players have to drop, rotate, and shift.
What do you give it?
A 5 stars.
Okay. Just making sure.
And I think he gave it 5 stars too. In this puzzle title, players have to drop, rotate, and shift block pieces into a rectangular field to make complete horizontal lines to eliminate them. Do I really have to read the review of Tetris?
What does he give it?
He gave it a 75, and it was a beat that he could dance to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So it didn't get going.
No, he got, what did he give him? 4.5 stars.
Oh.
4.5 stars. Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's, once.
The thing is, it's a good time killer. Like it's a game that you can pause at any time.
I was playing it yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. Yeah, I mean, I have a Game Boy player in my GameCube, which is the Nintendo system that came out in 2001. But you can put an adapter on it to play Game Boy games on your TV. And I was just
How many ways in this house right now can you play Tetris?
Probably 10.
Literally,
maybe. Yeah, I think
your phone.
I don't have it on my phone.
Really? Of all the places you don't
No,
have-
because it's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a Tetris addict, but I like.
But it's a fun phone game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. I mean, you know what? Maybe I should be getting
Shit,
it.
there goes next week's podcast. Joe's 3 days of not sleeping, loses 8 pounds.
Yeah. No, I'm actually playing more Mario games now. I'm on a Mario kick for some reason. But anyway.
But Tetris, last thing,
How much does it go for?
If you didn't own it, I can't
In the
find it.
box?
I can't find it with the box on eBay.
Oh, really? That's amazing. I'm going to say that, you know what? I'm going to look it up. Screw you guys.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up my eBay app, and then I'm going to vamp, and I'm going to type in Tetris NES CIB.
What's-
Complete inbox.
Wow. See, look, you guys are welcome. You would have not known what CIB meant.
And now I'm going to filter by sold items. So I'm going to get not the suggested manufactured retail price. These actually sell.
What the people on the street are really paying.
Yeah, it's $12.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I would expect it to be more, but you know what? It's Tetris. I think it's because it's ubiquitous. You know, it's pretty much anywhere. I think they have it. It's like, you know, my baby's first Tetris game. Like, I'm sure everybody and their grandmother literally have been playing Tetris for years.
Did you not just say you have 10 ways of playing it in this house?
I know.
That don't include your phone?
Which should include my phone.
Right.
Shame on
So
me.
it's not the rarest of rare things.
God bless Tetris.
Other than Blue Bloods, you got any recommendations this week? You
I
watch
do.
anything? Oh,
I
let's
do.
have it. Let's have it.
I saw this on my, you know, like the on the front page of your Netflix. I saw the this banner for Wild Wild Country, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It looks kind of like I didn't Google it. I didn't read the reviews. It looked intriguing, and I heard some people talk about it on Twitter, like vaguely, and I knew kind of what it was about, but not really. So I watched it, and it's crazy good. It's a crazy good 6-part documentary. Each part's an hour long. It's about the Rajneesh religious movement in the 1960s and 70s that culminated in like the 80s at its zenith. Like, basically, it's the story of this ashram. This guru who had an ashram in India, and I'm following of mostly like Westerners and Europeans, and you know, a lot of honkies. We're following him, but his whole philosophy of Eastern meditation was more like open, like free love kind of thing. You know, where it would be like super aggressive, like, you know, yelling and you know, being naked and stuff like that. And then there would be like meditation, and people were drawn to this. People were, you know, in the 60s and 70s were looking for like this sort of Eastern philosophy that was a counterculture to the Western medicines and psychologies and religions. So they amassed a following, a lot of money, so much so that they wanted to get out of India and expand. So they bought a town. Actually, they started by buying a ranch in Oregon that was adjacent to this town of 65 people. They eventually took over the town because they bought all their real estate. So imagine you're in this retirement kind of community of like this a small Oregon town called Antelope, 65 people, mostly older people, and all of a sudden
The circus comes to
the
town.
circus comes to town, and it's hundreds of people, and it's all like, you know, mid-30s, 20s-ish, mostly, you know, luckily mostly white, because, you know, the demographic wasn't all that diverse up there. But
if I know one thing about the black culture, no meditation and sex. If I know one thing.
Right. Well, but anyways, but they were just the story was fascinating because they got nationwide attention because they wanted to essentially not only they bought out the town, they changed the name from Antelope to Rajneeshpuram. Then they wanted to like take over the county. They wanted to expand their voting presence. So much so that they started busing in homeless people to trump up their numbers. Basically, like literally getting buses from around the country saying, hey, if you come and live on our compound, we'll put you up. Because I guess Oregon law said that if you're a resident of Oregon for 20 days, you can vote.
Wow.
They had the loosest, and still do have the loosest voting regulations out there. But I don't want to give too much away because I went into it cold, and I came out like this documentary. It challenges what you think about who the bad guy was. You know, sometimes it paints them as like, you know, the townspeople as like, oh, they're racist and they're xenophobic and they don't, you know, they're not accepting. But then you start to realize what the Rajneesh people were kind of doing and how they were, you know, how paranoia set in on their part and how they became a little bit more aggressive than they should. But it challenges your thoughts of like freedom of religion, freedom of the like voting rights. You know, you think about, you know, it draws parallels to what they were doing versus what the Mormons did in Utah, what the Quakers did, what the Pilgrims did. All these
the Irish Catholic,
Yeah.
in Ireland, like, hey, have a bunch of children was literally about getting up voting numbers.
Yeah. I mean, this is what was happening, and this was happening in '81. And what's fascinating about this documentary is that they had their own like little closed circuit television thing, so they filmed and documented almost everything. They were also recording some conversations. A lot of conversations, apparently. This is a fascinating, like, what they were doing and how much money that they had amassed, and what they did to this ranch. Like, they took this dirt, it was called, like, the Muddy Water Ranch. It had been, almost like desert land. And they had, like, engineers on their side. Like, they had really smart people. These weren't, like crazy hippies that were just wanting... Right. This wasn't a lot of what... It wasn't 10,000 shocks. There were some engineers involved. There were some architects. They had money and they had know-how, and they transformed this land. So what they did for the land was actually extremely impressive. It's just how they went about acquiring more land and asserting their and also like the notion of setting up a town with where the barrier to entry was you had to follow this religion. So there's almost, and they try to get them on establishment clause issues because,
I'm thinking I saw a documentary on this documentary or something like. Now, fun fact, this guy was the template for Mike Myers' Love Guru.
Right.
Don't know if you know that.
Yep, and he still blames this guy for...
I don't know if it's real. I don't know if I just made that up.
No, I made the same parallel in my mind as well.
All right.
Yeah, so, but unlike his movie, this actually was successful. This movement was very successful, but it has a very strange ending.
How dare you?
I dare. It has, but it's it's 6 hours. It moves by pretty quickly. It's jam packed full of like drama, information. They interview the woman who was like the right hand person of this guru, who is like became the mouthpiece of this movement because the guru had taken a vow of silence. Like he stopped communicating to his people for like 3 years. So her his secretary became like the person, and she was like on Donahue. She was like a firecracker. She's Indian-born woman who was educated in the United States and had lived here for a couple of decades before before this whole thing took over. But it's I implore you to watch this thing because it's great. And I probably ruined it for you because my stumbling review is disjointed and odd, but this documentary will not fail you. So if you have 6 hours, if you have time between Blue Bloods episodes,
I definitely will because I think I saw maybe it was just a trailer that I had seen it, and some people, is this the one? And I can't imagine there's too many others like this where you had whole families.
Yeah,
like some people just put their kids in a car and like move there. This is where we live now. This is now our life.
Yeah, and they all wear red. That's like that was it's crazy, and then they follow the aftermath of what happened afterwards and how the FBI got involved, and they actually interview like the attorney general who is taking on the case, and it's amazing. It's a good documentary.
Wild country.
Wild country.
I will check it out.
What would you implore that I watch?
Well, I would give a quick listen. It's only I think a 20-minute thing. Again, All-Star Tommy had sent me a great thing. Oh gosh, now I'm blanking on it. Money. It's an NPR show. I will look it up. But
wait, don't tell me.
No. But darn it, I apologize. I'm trying to think of what it is. But the name of the episode was Worst Tariffs Ever.
Okay.
And it was about the tariffs that were installed like back in the 20s.
Uh-huh.
That kind of, was a part of like leading to the Great Depression, and was really fascinating how many people wanted to get in on this tariffs, and it was so short-sighted where you would have like people who weren't affected by tariffs, like goat farmers or whatever, having lobbyists say, oh, we want tariffs from this, and everybody wanted protection for their goods, going out or people sending goods into the U.S. But by putting on tariffs on something, on your thing that didn't really affect it, like the supply chain down the line and how it retaliatory, like, sanctions.
This sounds like the Phantom Menace, and I don't like it.
No, it sounds like God fucking damn it, why are we doing the same thing again? Like why 80 years later do we not, hey, Germany's going through the Rhineland. Didn't they just do that? It's like why history keeps repeating itself is because why we love it. And the fun thing about that podcast, and I'll look it up in a second, is they mentioned like the Muppet, my favorite, who are my two favorite Muppets?
Statler and Waldorf.
And are we not that far off from them? And any NPR podcast that mentions those guys are always going to be, okay, like Oklahoma is okay with me. But as far as watching something,
I'm looking it up. I don't know.
But as far as watching something, the wife and I are big fans of Mike Birbiglia.
Yes.
And he has 3 different routines that are on Netflix, and like they just have, Netflix cycles things out. I think these routines span like 15 years. And it's kind of funny to see how he's grown and changed a little bit of a comedian.
Yeah.
When you binge watch something like that, it's like it's binge watching 3 hours, but over the course of 15 years for the guy. And then it's like, I didn't know this, but the guy who owns our football team and all that are from Shrewsbury, the neighboring town. And Mike Birbiglia is the biggest thing. Yeah, that is it. What is the name of the show?
Money.
Oh, Planet Money. Yeah, Planet Money. And the name of the episode is Worst Tariff Ever.
Yeah. Okay. But you're talking about Mike Birbiglia.
Fantastic. Love him.
Did you see the movie? What was this big movie that came out? What the hell is it called? And now I'm blanking on the name of the movie. It's the one where he's a part of an improv troupe, and then one of the cast members gets selected to go on their Saturday Night Live. It's like a fake Saturday
I've heard of this, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Don't Breathe. I think it's Don't Think. Something like that. Oh, fuck.
We'll look it up.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw the movie, and that was good.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, I know him as a comedian, but the wife, who is a walking IMDb, she's like, oh, no, remember, and This Is 40, he was the wife's sister's, husband who was always, I'm like, oh, right, because he's always played that guy. You know what I mean? But I know him as a comedian. Do you find it?
Don't Think Twice.
Nope. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's a good movie. It's got, Keenan. I'm going to die. But Peel.
Oh,
no, not Peel. Keegan Michael Key.
Okay, right.
Oh, my God. I'm 40 years old. I shouldn't be stumbling like this.
Yeah, well,
I think I'm having a stroke.
Don't. Yeah, you
not to besmirch people who had strokes.
You got there what they call the Irish Alzheimer's. You forgot everything but the grudges.
I've got the gift of.
You're awful. You are not a good person. You're not.
You're not a good person.
Meanwhile, Mike Birbiglia. But seriously,
finally tonight,
his 3 routines are really, and I just like his cadence and delivery. He's talking about he was dating this girl. Kind of, and she invited him like college things, and they went home for the weekend. And this other dude came over who turned out to be her high school boyfriend, who she kind of hasn't officially broken up with. And then they're like, she can't, and then he decided to go to, hey, why don't we go back to my parents' house? So they go back to his house. And that's when I met my girlfriend's boyfriend's parents. And every time we left the room, she would hold my hand and goes, I wish it was just us. You can make that happen. It's that kind of humor. I'm seriously a big fan of his.
Wow, he's from Shrewsbury.
That's what I said. So all the people.
Did you say that? I wasn't listening.
Wow. No wonder no one listens to the podcast. You are truly 3 feet away from me. I'm talking into a microphone that your headphone, my microphone goes right into your headphones, and you're not listening. And I was saying, everybody who works with me, or a good part of the team, the management of the team and the owner, are from Shrewsbury, and Mike Birbiglia is like, he's the small town boy, like hero, like he's a god there and stuff like that.
You should watch his Netflix specials. They're pretty funny.
I heard that. I'll check them out this week. That's a great suggestion. All right, this is when I killed you. No, I know the answer's no, but finally, parenting tips.
Do I have any parenting tips?
Yeah.
Of course I don't. Don't be ridiculous. I don't have any parenting tips. No.
All right.
No.
I do. The gig I have right now is a pretty cool gig, because I sit at the control room. I have the PA announcer to my left, the DJ to my right, the guy who runs all over the crowd with the mascot stands behind me. And each time there's a break, I have to, okay, you're going to read this PA. This is the song you play. You go to section whatever. And I get to, be bossy and control people. At the same time, I can have my kids come in, sit in the chair, put the headphones on, and, oversee the whole process in front of a stadium full of people in a game.
Like Trump.
So, right, Trump, right.
It's a circle of life.
You're right. There's so many people who would love to have my gig. And here's my 10-year-old doing it. I got to take a break. You've been working and waiting for this moment, but still keep waiting because my 10-year-old's going to put on the headphones and talk to the guys on the spotlight. So I suggest my parenting tip is get a cool job your kids can brag about at school. Bring them, take some pictures, and let them go back and say, see, this is what I did this weekend. What did you do? I sat at the table at the G8 Summit.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Wait, thank you. Well, what a way to take a great moment and crush my hopes and dreams, Joseph. Well played.
Whoa, dream crushers.
Yeah. Hey, but I will. One last thing. Other than Planet Money, if you want to check out a podcast, not Floor or Biff, the birthday boy, just you, I would suggest, and it's a fantastic podcast, Carnival Personnel. You might want to check it out, Joe.
I don't get
One
that.
of the two guys isn't a complete turd burglar.
Guess which one? Lordy. Well, we wasted an hour and a half of these good people's time.
And Biff's.
Yep. See what he did there.
But hey, before we end, do not forget,